Hey everyone, welcome back to Ancestral Healing. My name is Petra. Today I'm going to be talking about how to commit to a carnivore, keto, ancestral, animal-based diet in social situations. I'm going to give you my top 3 tips. This is especially important when you're first starting off on this diet. It's so easy to be triggered and to fall off track. I remember when I first started. The first 2 months were so difficult. Everything was triggering me. It was particularly difficult when it came to social gatherings, family gatherings, birthday parties, Halloween, and honestly just driving around downtown and seeing the hundreds of restaurants and smelling all of the delicious foods that I knew I couldn't have. I didn't want to eat these foods, but it was so tempting every corner that I looked. And don't even get me started on restaurants. Restaurants, going out to eat, that was Danny and I's thing. We would do that for date night, so it completely shifted everything. I often feel like an outcast in this world because I eat very differently than your average person. I discovered the carnivore diet almost 4 years ago. And now I eat more of a hybrid of carnivore / ancestral. Most of my meals are 100% carnivore. For example, yesterday for breakfast, I had bacon and eggs, and for dinner, I had chicken liver. But sometimes, as you may know if you watch my other videos, I will dabble into a little bit of vegetable, like squash or avocado, as long as it's local, seasonal, and organic. If a fruit or a vegetable is available when not in season, then it's most likely imported from somewhere else or sprayed with pesticides and other toxic chemicals so that it could grow in conditions it would otherwise not thrive in. So that's not what I'm interested in. Regardless, eating an animal-based diet really impacted how I share food with others, how I participate in traditions with family and friends, and how I receive and give the gift of food with others. Most traditions and celebrations revolve around food, and my whole life I was all for it. I would eat all the things, and even though I tried for the most part to eat clean, at these social gatherings I would not hold back. But of course, when I went carnivore, things changed. I can't participate in the same way that I used to. I found myself in many situations where I would receive an invite for Christmas with my family, or let's say a friend's birthday party, and I would go and there would be nothing there for me that I could eat, and I was unprepared. There were no safe foods, no meat and salt, so many questionable looking foods, so many ingredients. There's so many factors to consider when attending social gatherings, whether it's in someone's home or at a restaurant. What cooking oils did they use? Are there any meat-only options? Was the meat marinated, pre-marinated? If so, in what? Are there seasonings, spices, and sauces involved? If so, do those seasonings, spices, and sauces contain seed oils? I hated being that person. I didn't want to always ask these questions. I remember one time going to a beach barbecue with my family, and I was so excited to eat some grilled chicken and pork. I had even brought my own Redmond's real salt, and I gave it to the person that was taking care of the barbecue and handling all the meat, and he used it on all the meat, so I was super happy. Everything was going so well. Well, then at one point, I looked over and I saw the guy crack open a can of beer and spray all of the meat that was on the grill with beer. Beer on the meat, you guys. I don't know if that's a Romanian thing. I've seen it happen before, but caught me off guard there. My heart sunk a little. So I'm sure many of you have been in similar situations, and it can be uncomfortable. You don't want to offend anyone. You also don't want to be the person that's always preaching, or you don't want to be the one to tell them why what they're cooking is not good. You don't want to tell them that they shouldn't be eating what they're eating. It just comes off wrong. It rubs people off the wrong way. And you also kind of put yourself in situations where you're triggered, and then you may fall prey and eat the foods that you otherwise would not eat because you fall to temptation. So yeah, sometimes I feel like I'm the crazy person in the room, but deep down, I know I'm not. We are not crazy for wanting to eat only the purest forms of food that come from nature. It's a tough situation to navigate, but over the years, I find that sticking to my guns and preparing ahead of time have made things run smoothly. I will not compromise. It's just not worth it to wake up the next day feeling tired, groggy, itchy eyes, upset stomach. And for those of you who suffer from autoimmune, the reactions can be even worse than the ones I just mentioned. You can have flare-ups. So here are some tips of how to navigate being carnivore, being animal-based in social gatherings. And these are not in any chronological order. Tip number 1, bring your own food that you can share with others. So unless you're going to a party where there's only vegans or vegetarians, most people will appreciate when you bring meat to a party. If it's a barbecue, bring some steaks or some ribs. You can also bring some chicken wings, some chicken thighs, anything that's fast on the grill. If it's a family or friend gathering, you can bring a platter of prosciutto and cheese. You can even make deviled eggs. I get so many food and recipe ideas from the Facebook carnivore groups, you guys. A wealth of information on there. It doesn't even need to be anything extravagant. For the last 3 gatherings or, friend potluck things that I've been to, I've always brought a platter of prosciutto and cheese and people loved it. If you're going to a restaurant, what I would advise to check out their menu beforehand and see what meat options they have on their menu. You can also call the restaurant ahead of time and ask them a few questions. Is their meat pre-marinated? How do they cook it? Do they grill it? Do they bake it? Do they fry it? You can also ask if it would be okay if you brought your own animal fat, butter, whether it's ghee, pork lard, beef tallow, for them to cook your meat in. There are always options and people are willing to accommodate. Tip number 2, ask your family or friends if they can cook you something on the side. My friend Nick loves to cook for his friends. He always invites us over for barbecues, and he knows that Danny and I are pretty strict with our diet. He loves to season his food. He's a sauce guy. He makes chimichurri. He loves all of these, very delicious spices. But for Danny and I, he only puts Redmond's real salt. So he saves a little bit of meat for us on the side, and he only salts our meat. My parents also do the same. You have to communicate with your friends and family your needs, and in most cases, people are super understanding and will respect your wishes. Tip number 3, eat before the event. So this one might be a little bit harder than the other 2 because naturally when we are around food, our senses get triggered. The beautiful smells, deliciousness. But if you eat a good amount of meat, animal fat, animal protein, a very satiating, filling meal beforehand, you should be just fine. This one is a little bit more of like a personal challenge. I've done it quite a few times. In these cases, I might bring some soda water and a little bit of lemon, so at least I'm kind of sipping on something while everyone is eating or drinking alcohol or whatever they're consuming. I also really like this challenge because I find that traditions and get-togethers are so focused on the food, which is not necessarily a bad thing, well, depending on the food, but I think it's a nice challenge because it eliminates the food aspect and really kind of forces you to be present and to communicate and share stories and be fully in the moment with those around you. I hope this video has been helpful to you. It's interesting that we are eating like our ancestors did, yet in today's world, we kind of feel like the odd ones out. That's why I love this community and I want to continue sharing. If you want to stay more connected, please give us a follow on Instagram at Ancestral and Healing. I wish you guys a beautiful day. Take care.